This is the most challenging chapter for most students in this entire course. So the good news is that if you survive this, you'll probably survive the rest of the semester. Cellular respiration is the process of how cells extract energy from food molecules. We'll spend a lot of time talking about glucose, but we'll also discuss the breakdown of proteins and fatty acids to produce ATP. The chemical equation for cell respiration is something that you are going to memorize. So let's talk about it. We're going to start with our glucose molecule, 6 carbons, 12 hydrogens, and 6 oxygens. So that's our one glucose molecule. We also need to have 6 oxygen. These are our reagents, or our reactants. And with enough time and the right cellular machinery and all the right enzymes, we are going to end up with 6 carbon dioxide molecules, 6 water molecules, and energy in the form of heat and the chemical energy of ATP. Our food molecules are going to undergo redox reactions, those reduction oxidation reactions, and that's going to release cell energy that our bodies are going to use to produce ATP. It's going to break down sugar in using 4 different stages. So first stage is called glycolysis, where we are going to take a sugar molecule and we are going to break it in half, which the word glycolysis means sugar break. We're going to take our 6 carbon sugar and we're going to create 2 3 carbon molecules called pyruvate. So that is a name of a chemical that you are going to want to know, because in the next stage, we're going to take that pyruvate and we are going to break it down and oxidize it further. That's going to allow us to get to our 3rd stage, which is the citric acid cycle. In all of these processes, we are oxidizing, we're carrying the high energy electrons that was in our glucose molecule, and we're going to allow them to pass through the electron transport chain, which is our 4th and final stage, because the goal here is to produce a proton gradient or a hydrogen ion. Protons are hydrogen ions, the same Z's. And that is going to power the anabolic reaction of taking ADP and binding it to a 3rd phosphate group to make our friend ATP. It's essential that the energy that's stored in the glucose molecule is released slowly, which is why we have all these stages, and each of these stages has many steps so that we can release that energy slowly. The process of combustion, like this fire burning this firewood, and the process of respiration, like what your body would do after you eat this marshmallow, are very similar. Both processes are going to start with carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates of the firewood, simple sugars in the marshmallow. Both processes require oxygen. Both processes are going to produce carbon dioxide and water, and both are going to create energy. Combustion is going to have energy in the form of heat and light, and aerobic respiration is going to have energy in the form of heat and the chemical energy of ATP. The process of combustion turns the reactants, the carbohydrates and the oxygen, to the products of carbon dioxide, water, and energy much faster than respiration does. Combustion releases all the stored energy in the carbohydrates all in one step. Respiration, like we mentioned, has many more steps, which allows the energy in our high energy electrons to be released slowly. And at each stage, the cells can harvest some of that energy to be used in synthesizing ATP. The molecules that temporarily hold the high energy electrons are aptly called electron carriers. These are molecules that will undergo reduction oxidation reactions. And as we learned in the last chapter, Redox reactions are always paired because one particle must donate or lose an electron, and the other particle must accept or gain that electron. So the reduced state with the extra electron is the electron carrier that's going to move the high energy electrons around in the cell. In aerobic respiration, the electron carrier is a molecule called NAD+. Here's its chemical structure. We don't have to memorize this. It has a big, long, scary name. This is why we're going to call it NAD+. So the NAD+ is going to accept the high energy electrons and convert into the NADH form. So when NAD+ is given the electrons, it is reduced to NADH. NADH is the one that are carrying around those extra high energy electrons. Okay. Eventually, we'll need to take our NAD+ and convert it back to NADH. But for right now, we're going to keep that in our nasty little pockets and not worry about it at this moment. We will get there, and I will tell you about it later when you're older. The whole point of cellular respiration is to reform ATP from ADP. During cell processes, we're going to use the catabolic reaction of removing one of those phosphate groups that will release the energy for work to be done in the cell. That leaves us with ADP and phosphate groups. We can then reform ATP using ADP, adding a phosphate group, and then of course, because this is an anabolic reaction, that energy is going to come from our food in order to do that. So this whole chapter is about all the steps that are hiding underneath this arrow. In most eukaryotic cells, aerobic respiration is going to generate 32 to 36 ATP molecules throughout this process that we're about to talk about.